Hello and welcome. In this episode I want to look at getting Twig up and running on WordPress. Now why would we do that? Well, Twig is used in a lot of other projects that I build. Drupal, October, Winter, and the handlebars based syntax is fairly similar to what you'd find in Vue or React or any of those kind of frameworks, so it sort of keeps things reasonably together. The other thing that it does is it encourages you to just focus on the template part of it and keep the logic and all that sort of stuff out of the templating. Wouldn't say it was strictly an MVC pattern, but if we can get close to that, I'm happy with that. Now there is some documentation how to set it all up, and it's actually pretty simple. But before we do that, we'll just have a look at why we would go down this path. And Timber was bought out by an agency called Upstatement, and this is what they have to say about it. Now it's mainly about separating out the data and logic and having just the display in the HTML. We'll just have a scroll through and sort of see what we've got here. So why Timber for rookies? It's got cred. It does have quite a few 5-star ratings. It's for pros and for rookies as well, and it's also got support. And this little quote from CSS Tricks, I think, sort of sums up. I was quite impressed when I found it. And this is kind of what it looks like. You have a single file. You've got the context array. You add things into the array, and then it renders a template with the context data. Nice and simple. What I've got here is just a basic installation of WordPress. Nothing fancy, nothing added. It's just that. And we go into the back end. Into the dashboard, we've got the 3 standard themes that sort of comes with any installation. So we're going to add Timber and Twig to that. Okay, we can do that. We'll go back to our documentation, and in the documentation there's actually 2 ways of doing this. You can install via WordPress as a plugin, and there's also you can download it using Composer. Now I tend to use the Composer way, mainly because it keeps all the files within the theme rather than having a separate plugin. Having it as a plugin does present some dangers. I have had an experience where a website had Timber and the plugin, and the plugin was turned off, and of course that broke the whole site. So yeah, if we keep it all together, it stops those kind of accidents from happening. Bringing it in is fairly easy. In the functions PHP, you can set up a require once, and it just pulls in the vendor autoload, and all the rest is done for you. And then you can instantiate the new object. Now I'm going to start with the starter theme first, and I'll use the one that's in the documentation, and that happens to be this one here. I'll just grab that and we'll copy that. So let's head over to VS Code, and right, I'm just going to make this terminal a little bit bigger so we can sort of see what's going on. Bring it up to about here. Now I'm at the start of my installation, so I'll just change directory. Not help if I click on that. Yep. Change directories into WP content. CD into themes. Typing's on fire as usual, and see what we've got here. So we've got the 2019, the 2020 and the 2021 themes. Right, so I'm just going to git clone. Should still be in the clipboard, yep, beautiful, and I'll call it Wattle. So we now have a theme called Wattle. Now what's going to happen with Wattle? So I'll just hit refresh in the dashboard, and we've got one called Timber. Now it's not called Wattle, so need to make just a little minor edit into that. So we'll go back to here, and in the Wattle style.css, we'll just change that name to Wattle. Okay, and we'll head back here, and now theme name's been changed to Wattle. Let's activate that, and what do we get? Timber is not activated. Make sure you activate the plugins. If we look at the website, and Timber is not activated, so one more step to go, and that step is in the documentation. We've got our starter theme here. We go back up here, and we're just going to use Composer to require that theme. So Composer require Timber. We'll go back to here, and now terminal, we'll cd into Wattle, and Composer require. That took a few seconds, and here it is. Now if we go back to our website, we'll click back into our main site. We've now got Timber is active. It's not a particularly attractive looking site, but it's a starter theme, so what else are we going to expect? And if we look in here, refresh, that warning's gone. So we're good to go. So let's have a look at what we've got now. Don't need the terminal so much, so I'm just going to squeeze that down, back down again, and what have we got? Alright, we've got some various directories and things here. Anybody who's used to a standard WordPress installation, these files here in the theme all look quite familiar. We'll start with the functions file. Now what we've got in the functions file here is a whole bunch of stuff, but it's starting with the Timber starter theme. It's bringing in the Composer autoload, and now we've got the usual sort of startup system we have for WordPress, adding actions, adding filters for templates, setting the directory name up, and then we've got this class starter site. Now this is extending, of course, the Timber site, and this is starting to add things into that object for the starter site. And we've got, after theme setup, Timber context, etc., etc. Register our post types, any kind of stuff like that. We've got register taxonomies, all familiar stuff if you built your own WordPress themes. And then we've got this context here. So we've got context array, we've got foo, and that's been assigned with bar, stuff from a value, notes, menu, and site. Site is is this object, and returns the context. We've also got different supports for the different things that are supported in the menu. So all this sort of stuff can be set it up, and then we've got our new starter site object is then instantiated. If we look at the first file that gets loaded, like the templatey type file that you would get in a WordPress setup, we'll look at index.php, and you can sort of see here this starts to sort of give you an idea of what's going on. So we've created a variable called context, and that's going to be the timber context, so all that stuff that was in the theme functions. And then we're adding posts into that. So timber, then there's a post query object. Then we can also add other parts to that array. And then we've also got a template. And of course we've got an if statement here, and checks to see if it's home, and then unshifts these from the templates array. And then we render the templates and the context object, or should I say array. Now these Twig files, where do we find them? Well, they're all in the templates directory, and if we look at, say, index.twig, we've got it extends the base.twig and then adds this block of content into it. So we've got h2 is a variable of foo. You'll notice the curly braces type thing here. So this is Twig, and a variable called quacks. And for posts that loops through. So you've got the WordPress loop here, and then we're including pagination as well. Looking at the base Twig, so where this comes from, we've got includes the header Twig. This is also inside inside a block here, so HTML block container. We have a head block here. So this is including HTML header Twig. If we look down and find that HTML header Twig, and we've got the start of the head up, the head part of the template here. Heading back to index, and that's pretty much it for that. So it's going on for that's your index file. We've got a menu Twig here. This is fairly simple, so you can create your own menus, quite simply by going through and varying this code here. You can put your own CSS in there. So there's quite a lot you can do with this. So there you have it, a quick and dirty installation of Timber, your own starter theme using Twig in WordPress. There is of course so much more you can do with this. I have to say I find this a far easier approach to building a theme than the standard WordPress templating. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful, and if you want to, like, subscribe, all that, leave a comment, all that sort of stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.